Hey everybody, it's Jeremy. Welcome back to Dreamers Game 1 where we are playing Yomi. This is turn 43. Let's jump into things. So, kicking things off at the start, we have completed Enchantment 4 on our way up to 5. Enchantment 4 doesn't really get us a whole lot of stuff. Let's take a look at this real quick. Enchantment 4 doesn't get us a whole lot of stuff. It does give us the ability to twice born, which is somewhat interesting for some of our things. For example, our Chunari, and the higher up version, the actual like Hanyas, can be very valuable to twice born because they're so expensive, right? Like you can get them killed, and then the twice born will pop. But it does cost 10 death gems a pop to do that, though I do think that's probably worthwhile if you have an easy way to accomplish that, like you have a nearby like an indie province that you have basically like control of or ownership with, or you have like a war that you're, like I can toss this person into this, or you have like a friendly negotiations with saying like, hey, I need to bounce mages off of a province of a neighbor, that type of thing. Some people you can negotiate to do that type of thing with. So that's somewhat useful, right? But other than that, I guess anti-magic is useful for us. Flaming arrows not really useful for us. We don't really have a lot of like arrows, and it's pretty late. Cloud trapeze can be useful, but it's hard for us to get air to on like Diones. You could boost a couple, and if you do that, then they're really great. But yeah. Anyways, mostly it's gonna be twice born and anti-magic. The rest is kind of whatever. But we are moving up to Enchantment 5. Enchantment 5 is very valuable for us for Horde of Skeletons. Pale Riders can be super useful. A couple of other things here or there, but mostly it's Horde of Skeletons for Horde of Skeletons spam. So that is, go back to the things, that is Enchantment 4. Boom, completed for research. That there. And then we have a couple of castings trying to find some new gems for arcane probing mostly, or for astral. Find nothing here, nothing with Voice of Apsu, nothing with this arcane probing, nothing in Golan Fens, nothing in Moliton. We summon some Shikome, and we fail to find anything with the last one in Strongdale. So that's really unfortunate. We also fail to find anything with Fusaki. We do get 5 more Blood Slaves, but no increased gem income this turn, so that's unfortunate. We have a number of battles against Hinnom. Let's go ahead and check those out. We get counter-rated. Kind of just fly through some of these. Check and see if there's any interesting changes. Astral Shield. Yeah, no, nothing really there. So that's going to be a big win for Hinnom there. We also get hit in Tapanete. And this is the big army. So he is moving into our territory. Lots of rephites. Let's take a closer look at this army. So these guys in the center, right? The Avite Light Infantry, we're not super worried about those. They'll die, no big deal. The rephites are the issue, right? Like, they are pretty stacked. Have the Divine Blessing come out. Divine Blessing. So they're pretty stacked. Good Bless, very resistant to the elements. Shock 10, Fire 7, Cold 10. That's difficult to deal with. Very magic resistance, right? Especially in our dominions, because we have Drain Scales, so they're even more magic resistant. They hit really hard, and they have a really good chance to hit with their Dawnblade, and then they are bigger than they normally would be because of the enlarge, so that is somewhat scary. They hit real hard. So they're dangerous, but he doesn't really have much leading them, right? He's got his single Melkart. He's got his Prophet, this guy. And then he's got a couple of mages. He's got 2 Ketasats, it looks like, right? Which are just priests, no big deal. This one has some minor gear. And in the back, he's got 2 Achas, both nature, with 1 personal gem nature gem apiece and some slight gear. These guys are healers, which is awesome. That's why you carry them around with a bunch of Rephites to make sure that the Rephites stay healed up and aren't littered with wounds, etc., etc. Really, really good. The only thing is there's not a lot of like buff potential aside from the divine blessing. So, while these Rephites are dangerous and scary, they're kind of the only thing that's dangerous and scary about this army, aside from one other factor. And I don't know that we're really going to talk about it too terribly much this turn, but we probably will talk about it a lot next turn. So I might leave that for that. Anyway, so we're obviously going to lose in Tapanede. Nothing that we can do there. We attack in Shambolic. This is just a little raid with some Bakamana show with Yaris. But we are actually intercepted by a fair amount, and this is good. This is what he should be doing, right? He knows that we've been raiding with these little parties. He needs to be throwing out things that will destroy these parties if he catches it, and just fish with them, right? Absolutely what you want to do against raiders in this type of situation. And in this particular instance, he caught us and killed us. Easy peasy, right? Really bad matchup with the long dead Rephites. They have too much HP to go down quickly, especially because they are pierce resistant. They don't really have any protection or anything like that, but the pierce resistance really fucks with our ability to kill them. And you know, the extra HP messes with that as well. So, nice job there. Caught us out. Killed a bunch of our raiders. We get hit in Eagle Reach Mountains, and this is the flip side. So this is a Melkart, right, coming in with several Rephite warriors, and that's great because we didn't move, right? You know, we had been raid around with this army, constantly on the move, and then last turn we just didn't move out of the location that we had raided because we had noticed that, right, Hinnom had fallen into that habit of just chasing us around, counter-raiding, not really trying to cut us off or anything like that, content to just counter-raid provinces back. So we just sat where we were, and now we've got a Melkart and 4 Rephites, and that's all well and good. They're dangerous. They can definitely kill some people. But we've seen this before, right? If we get in, we can start to beat the shit. So, one, our Dione was able to isolate a Rephite on its own, right? So Tokimochi landed back here and killed a Rephite on his own. Now he's closed with 3 Rephites, and that's not good, but a lot of these Rephites are now starting to get popped by the people that they are adjacent to. And go down. Did that guy flee, or did he get popped? I think he got popped. Yeah, he just got hit and killed. And that's a dead Melkart and 2 dead Rephites. So, yeah, dead Melkart, 2 dead Rephites. Tokimochi gets a horned helmet and a barkskin amulet for himself. Very nice. And that cost us 2 Aka Onis, 4 Ko Onis, and 1 Oni, which is absolutely something that we are willing to, you know, I mean, a Melkart is a 485 gold fucking cap-only unit. Rephite warriors are 130 gold cap-only units, right? Absolutely willing to take this type of trade every day. And we can bleed ourselves out on wins like this. We can eventually lose this group, and that's perfectly fine, right? 490 gold, 485 gold. We've already paid for this Dione, basically, in what we've done here. So anything that we do now is just extra. And all the harassing that we've already done previously, you know, that goes into this as well. So definitely worth. And then we have a battle in the Parched Expanse where we get counter-raided as well. No. Parched Expanse is that actually ours? No. Parched Expanse is counter-raid. What happened there? I don't really know what happened here. I don't think we put all... I think we got an event last turn that gave us all of this province defense, because I would not have just... This isn't something I would have boosted on. Or boosted on. PD dumped on. Emperor Flash. Now, barbarians can be dangerous, kind of the same thing as like demons against Melkart, but this guy has way more buffs going on, so he's got a vine shield, so I don't think the barbarians are going to be an issue for him here. Yeah, he's vine shielding too many. Without that vine shield, I think it probably would have been a doable thing, but popped there as well. So we've got a couple more battles to watch. We've got a battle between Ubar and Helheim. And this is a decent-sized party from Ubar, a bunch of desert warriors. And it is against nothing, just a hell herding here, so easy victory for Ubar. Not going to watch that. And then there is a battle, Helheim versus Ubar in Wesh. And this is I think a big one. So this is a very large Helheim army, corpse constructs, a bunch of hell herdings, a bunch of surf warriors, bunch of mounted herdmen, and a fair amount of, not a crazy amount of, but a fair amount of mages, Van Jarls, Hangadrots, some lizard shamans, etc. Versus a pretty large army from Ubar. So we've got a bunch of Cynocephalian warriors, a bunch of Ubaran desert warriors, some actual Ifrit sultans. Yeah, this is their god, Ubar's god, Jin Command HQ. And yeah, let's see how this goes. This is a big battle. Okay, so we have a couple little communions going up. Easy peasy. Storm power going up. Storm goes up. Darkness goes up. That is a big deal. Darkness and wailing winds. So, most of Helheim's important troops have Spirit Sight, the Hell Herdings, right? And all of the mages, like Van Jarls and stuff like that. I think. Maybe not. No, they don't. The Hangadrots should, though. Yeah, the Hangadrots do. And then the corpse constructs are undead, so they should not be overly affected. I think. Demons, blind beings, and beings with spirit sight are perfect dark vision. I don't think. I have no idea if undead count as that or not. Anyways, so the darkness is going to be pretty crippling to Ubar, who... Oh, I guess the Cynocephalian warriors do have dark vision, but the Ubaran desert warriors do not. So, maybe not as crippling as I thought it was going to be, but still pretty bad. And then the Wailing Winds is just a brutal spell to deal with, right? All enemies hearing the wailing will feel their spirits sink. So this is a great morale freaking weapon. Relief goes up from the Halasi Enchantress, which I believe is Halasi the Enchantress over here. So Ubar puts up... I wish there was like a very easy indicator here. There's not, right? There's just... These are the globals up. I wish... Yeah, okay, Dominion 6. Make it clear which side. Like, put on the left side, put a, like, space for the globals on the left side. On the right side, put a space for the globals on the right side, right? You know, like, make it all neat and partitioned out so we can clearly see who puts up what. You know? Lots of... Are these fire arrows? Yeah. So we put up, Ubar put up flaming arrows. Again, probably not going to do too terribly much against this situation. A bunch of air elementals coming out into the mix now. Mostly landing amidst the front line, which is kind of interesting. What else we have? A natural storm. We have Growing Fury. Growing Fury can be useful to prevent your people from routing. Rigor Mortis coming out from a Cynocephalian Shaman. Really? I'm interested in that. Seems pretty late to be putting that up, though. And I'm not sure that Ubar really has... Like, I think right now, Helheim has more undead and elemental on the field than Ubar does. So, I'm not sure that Rigor Mortis is really going to be helpful. Hal from the Palasi Enchantress. Interesting. Hal coming in from the sides can definitely make things annoying. It looks like the front line of Ubar has basically been obliterated, though. The Cynocephalians, the dog boys, are unable to handle mounted Herdmen and Hell Herdings. And now the Ubar and Desert Warriors are dropping like flies, too. So this looks like it's a handy victory for Helheim. Yep. Alright, that's oof. That's a big fight. That's here in Wesh. Yikes. Holy shit. 37 losses to 320 losses. Helheim's losses were mostly corpse constructs, which he cares not about at all. Some Surf Warriors, a single mounted Herdman, and 6 Hell Herdings. That's unfortunate to lose that many Hell Herdings, but I mean, considering what they're up against, the damage that they did, definitely worthwhile. Ubar loses basically all of its infantry and a bunch of other pretty valuable units. Some Cynocephalian Shamans, 7 of those. 3 Enchantresses, a couple of which that had gear. 2 Human Saharas. An Ifrit Sultan, a Shayatin, a Mystic, a Shaman. His god did make it out, that's good. But that is a really pretty compelling loss versus Helheim there. That is no bueno. I don't know if this means that Helheim's now going to bowl over Ubar or not, or if Ubar is still going to be able to defend themselves, but we've talked about this kind of concept, right? Like, we've got to be watchful, because if Helheim just suddenly trounces Ubar, then we've got a massive Helheim that probably even the entire coalition of the whole world might not be able to handle. But if Ubar also trounces Helheim, then, we got to keep an eye on this and see how it goes. But that was a pretty rough loss for Ubar. Also a battle, Lanka versus Hinnom. So this is just a raider. I want to watch this, though. I want to see what this thing is. So this is a Kabanta, which has some interesting paths, and it is a pop killer. It causes a lot of unrest. It's stealthy with fear, and it has Boots of the Messenger. So let's see what it does. Oh, it's just going to Horde of Skeleton spam. That's fair. That's actually pretty decent. Built-in stealthy, built-in fear. Horde of Skeleton spam is pretty easy peasy to raid with. Huh. Nice. Alright, cool. Okay, so we had a pretty rough turn of it. Not as rough a turn as Ubar, but we had a pretty rough turn of it. So that is 1 win and 4 losses versus Hinnom this turn. Jot that down real quick. And then we have a bunch of events, a couple of events to go through. We got heavy autumn rains caused a landslide, revealing a buried cache of magic gems underneath the soil. Got a bunch of gems. A handful of gems have been found in a small stream. Got some water gems and a Local wizard has been lynched after allegations of turning a peasant into a frog. His magical resources have been transported to the lab. So, got a bunch of gem events this turn. So for that, we've got +2 fire, +1 air, 6 water gems, 2 earth gems, 2 astral gems, 9 death gems, and 6 nature gems. So quite the haul this turn, actually. Then notate that. And then, as far as the rest of the stuff goes, we're again slowly but surely destroying Pastena and patrolling a little bit here or there. So, what are we doing? A main focus is going to be what's going on with the Hinnom army. So let's focus on what we're doing in actual Hinnom territory this turn. He's gotten wise to our... I say gotten wise. He is now enacting countermeasures to try to catch out our small raiding parties of Bakemono Sho. So we're going to have to try to do something about that. There's not much that we can do, but we're going to try to isolate locations if we can. We're also going to try to catch out yet another group in Eagle Reach Mountains. He might not bite this time, right? But typically what you see people do is if you have an army raid, and you have a person counter raid, you can bait that person by just stopping, like holding position, and they bounce into you and you suddenly kill their counter raid, and it's like, ah, shit, right? Most people will then assume that, okay, he stopped. He's not going to stop. He's not going to stay there again, right? And then they will counter raid you again. So we're gonna see how that goes. He does have some Mel carts in the area, but he might just play more defensive and only ever take something back if if this army is at least 2 away, right? Like that type of scenario. So he won't take. He might not take Eagle Reach until we're over in Ormark or something like that, right? That kind of concept. But we'll see how that goes. Other than that, just doing some light raiding in other locations. Little update, we can see Lanka is sieging down the throne, Rintail, and kind of trying to move things into other locations. But he's taking it slow, you know. All right, what are we doing from a... We're not going to go all over all the little bitty movements. A lot of these are just site searching or moving Oni around, etc., etc. But we have, as of last turn, we have consolidated the majority of our army into Iron Caverns. This is kind of a rough situation, by the way. So, I guess this is what I was going to talk about. So, Hinnom, if the Hinnom player is smart, they don't have to beat me in the open field, necessarily. They can go directly for, like, our forts, Ulm, or Yomi, our capitals, basically. And doing that is going to cause 2 problems, right? The first problem is that this army, the one in Tapanete, it has, 20 pop kill, 50 refites, and a Melkart, so that's a lot of population to kill every single turn that they're in a province. So just popping onto my capital, for instance, is gonna cost me a lot of population. Staying on, like, Ulm for multiple turns, for instance, would be devastating. The other thing, though, is even if he doesn't stay on them for a full turn, this army is definitely strong enough to pop any of my forts in a single turn, and I have to defend them, which means I have to move this army around, because this is the only army that I really have that can guarantee, or maybe not guarantee a win, but promptly secure an advantage, right? But this army, for example, if I march into Vale of Fortune, which I am doing this turn, this army is going to skyrocket the unrest to 100 basically almost instantly. And it's going to be the same thing if I have to defend Ulm or if I have to defend Yomi, right? So Hinnom, from a smart standpoint, should avoid engaging me at all and just move around my empire, causing me to either give him an opening to take something because I'm not close enough to counter with this army, or I'm unwilling to counter with this army, or he just slowly but surely, reduces my population to the point to where I start having issues. Reducing my population is going to give me supply issues, which I don't really care about that much, but it's going to give me income issues at the same time. And then marching my army around is going to give me unrest, which is also income. So, what we are going to try to do to avoid that is to try to catch Hinnom in the open field of battle sooner rather than later. And in doing that, the hope is I am gambling that Hinnom is going to go for Ulm instead of going for my capital. He basically has three lines of entrance further into my empire. He can go to Scardian Vale, he can go to Vale of Fortune, he can go to Flimistan. Right? If I assume I can't get to Scardian Vale in any amount of force that matters, so that's just off the list, right? If I assume he is going to Flimistan and I move there and we meet, I might win. But I won't be able to pull in all of the forces that I'm trying to pull in. I'm trying to pull in a bunch of shamans to help assist with things like Swarm, to flood his backfield, because remember, he has a bunch of Achas and Kedasats and things like that in the backfield that, are kind of open to being targeted by this type of thing. So I think that will potentially help. And they're not going to be able to make it over to Flimistan in order to assist if we do that. Also, if I pick Flimistan and he goes into Scardian Vale or Vale of Fortune, he is going to have a little bit of an advantage on positioning for Ulm or Ancient Woods, though not much of one. So that's kind of okay, right? Versus if I have kind of guessed, right, Vale of Fortune. If he does not go into Vale of Fortune, right? If he goes into Flimistan or Scardian Vale, Vale of Fortune is situated in such a way that it doesn't really matter where else he goes. We're going to be able to posture or follow immediately along, right? Like if he goes down to Flimistan, we can either follow just into Flimistan or we can follow back into Iron Caverns, right? Like if he continues to go south, we can just mirror straight down into Mysia, etc., etc. So I am hoping that he has not seen this particular army, that I'm hoping that Hinnom's scouting is not that great. And that he is just going to move into Vale of Fortune on his way to Ulm, and that we're going to catch him and pop him. So let's take a look at what we're doing in the actual army. There's not a lot that we have to do. Mostly we're just arraying our units in a way that I think is going to be somewhat useful. We have a bunch of Kura Oni and a bunch of Oni out in front so that they can get in and start swinging their big stabbers. We've got Ko-Oni all over the place because we've got a shit ton of Ko-Oni. And we have a massive block of Aka-Oni. Really, we don't want them throwing flames because the throwing flames isn't going to do that much to the Rephites. We want them in smacking people with their clubs. So, honestly, I probably should have just pushed them forward. But since they're undisciplined, you can't really control them, so it means they're gonna go through this phase of throwing their flames. They've only got 3 ammunition, so the hope is that we're gonna be able to get there in time for it to not matter, right? We have our Ko-Onis with our better leaders in order to try to get them some morale boosts, and the other individuals have high enough morale that we are less concerned about their morale breaking. We don't have a lot of interesting like buffs to go out. We are doing a Curse of Stones just to potentially harm Hinnom's chances to retaliate against us. We are doing a fair number of Strength of Giants because a good portion of this is going to be, making our Ko-Oni strong enough to hurt more, or our Kura-Onis or Aka-Onis strong enough to basically obliterate a Rephite in 2 or 3 hits, and go from there. Other than that, mostly just buffs and things like that. We have a handful, Aterui, Tsunei, and Junichi, who are actually kind of kitted out with gear. They each have winged shoes, so they can fly into the back line. They're each going through pretty basic buff cycles: Iron Skin, Timber Flesh, Summon Earth Power, Flying Shield, that type of stuff. These two have Fire Shield and Iron Will instead. And they're going to be attacking rear, trying to assassinate both the Achas, Ketasats, and that singular Melkart, and also the Prophet, right? So the three of them hopefully will be able to accomplish that. And then we've seen the, we're also bringing in these shamans to do some swarm casting as well, and that should be helpful. And that's really it, right? That's the plan for dealing with it. Honestly, I think that, and I could be wrong, right? We could get into this fight and he could start slaughtering Ko-Onis and the whole army could just flee. But I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think he has underestimated the sheer strength that demons have. It would be one thing if he brought a whole line of if we take a look at his army again in Tapenade, it would be one thing if he brought a whole line of what is it? His Penders, his Amis, his astral Amis, right? If he brought a whole line of astral Amis and he was able to, throw out several body ethereals, right, and get 20, like half of his Rephites body etherealed, that would be a big fucking deal, right? Like, oh shit, that would be a big deal. But he's not, right? So these guys are strong, these Rephites are strong, and they hit really hard, but so do my things. And unless he has some way to buff them from a defensive standpoint, or like regenerate them from a defensive standpoint, I have way more demons. I'm gonna have, and because he's larger, right, he basically only has like an attack per square, whereas I have several attacks per square, right? That's gonna add up, and we're gonna see, right, where the two lines are gonna meet, and he's gonna butcher a couple of demons, and then the demons are gonna go, and you're just gonna see waves of Rephites fall, basically, as they just get hammered on by Ko-Onis and Aka-Onis and Kura-Onis and all the Onis, right? So that's my assumption anyways. I might be on a high horse right now, and I might be talking out my ass, and we might see that goes horribly wrong, but that is what I believe is going to happen. It's just a matter of catching him, and I think it's a 50-50 here, right? I don't think there's any, he might go for Guardian Veil just to try to avoid any engagements, right? But I don't feel like you march an army into a person's provinces like this if you think that you can't engage. Typically, people do this type of thing because they're like, oh yeah, I can engage. Let's go fucking slaughter their capital or something like that. And I'm like, okay, let's fight, right? So, yeah, we'll see how it goes. Aside from that, what are we doing? We're not doing much on the ritual side of things. We are doing another Voice of Apsu and another reanimation. So, boom, Voice of Apsu and reanimation. That is 34. And then aside from that, we are doing a fair amount of forging all over the place, really. And there's enough of that I think it's better for me to just go down the list. We're doing a lot this turn. We're doing 3 Lightless Lanterns, 1 Girdle of Might, 1 Shadow Brand, 1 Horror Helmet, 1 Winged Shoes, 1 Armor of Knights, 1 Dwarven Hammer, 1 Ring of Regeneration, and 1 Vine Shield. So again, the majority of that is to try to fill out gear sets so that we can put them on Dionis and roll with it. also just continuing the lightless lantern spam, etc., etc. So anyways, make sure that that goes up. Okay. Recruitment wise, just continuing to kind of like recruit base stuff here or there. Demon generals here or there, Dionis here or there, Naminaris here or there, fucking shamans here or there. We're actually doing okay on income right now, so that's pretty good. I'm getting some more Onishigos. And I think that is probably pretty much it. This is gonna be a big situation, right? Like, if we guess right and we run into the army and things go how I assume that they are going, we're basically gonna be like, okay, in that scenario, I think we will have obliterated the majority of Hinam's strength from the Rephite side of things. And then it's just going to be marching, march to Jubero, take it. Mireni has a fort, probably take it, right? And threaten Hinam, and see how the rest of this war goes. Hopefully that's how that goes. Anyways, that's going to be it for this turn. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like, commenting, or subscribing. It really helps me out. If you'd like to see me live, head over to my Twitch at twitch.tv/thedistanthorizon.